We're online. We're online. I'm just going to wait a couple minutes, couple seconds while those of you hop online, and I'm going to get my laptop going so that I can keep up with your comments as they come in. Hello, hello, whoever's here, drop a comment below so I know who you are, where you're coming from. Okay, good. Welcome. We're just waiting for a few people to hop on here. I'm just gonna set the space, light my sage. Welcome. And you can get yourself comfortable, grab a journal, grab some water, tea. I have fennel, my fennel tea, my beautiful herbal tea. Boosts immune system, really good for the digestive system. Welcome. So as you're hopping on, just comment below where you're coming from, where you're hopping in from, why you're here, what you're hoping to learn. Good stuff. Welcome. Just setting the space here. Gonna give probably about another minute to let people hop on. And just comment where you're from, where you're tuning in at. And if you're watching the recording of this as well, just go ahead and comment, and I will see you when I will see it as I log on the next time. Good. Okay, I think we're about ready. So whether you're watching the recording or not, just comment below who you are, where you're from, what you're hoping to receive from this transmission. And just so that as this transmission gets going, I just want to drop in some housekeeping things. So, grab a pen and a notebook. You might be called to take some notes, have water, tea nearby, light some candles, burn some sage, whatever your witchy woo self feels called to do, your crystals. And I encourage you to have open body language for this transmission, because when we have our arms crossed or our legs crossed, what we're actually doing is signaling to our body and our energy field to bounce away anything that's coming in. And we want this transmission to be giving you some shifts in your subconscious mind. And even if you don't understand everything that I'm saying on a conscious level, your subconscious mind is taking it in. And I also just want to preface and say that if something I say doesn't resonate with you, just just leave it and take what does. I'm not by no means an expert. Okay, I'm just sharing based on a transmission that's been channeled through me, from my guides, from my team, and from my own life experiences. I have really stepped into my own sovereignty and created a really beautiful, sparkly, radiant reality. So let's just begin. I want to start with a prayer and just set an intention and call in our team. So you can just close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Just centering yourself into this here by now moment. And we hereby call in our teams, our guides, our higher selves, galactic beings of the light, highest beings of the light, that desire to be here to support us as we receive and channel this transmission, as we are activated and codes within us are unlocked, and as we remember the truth of who we are, and as we remember that divine spark, our sovereign power within us now. And just see a beautiful red laser beam connecting from your root chakra, the base of your tailbone, just shooting down into the very ground, into the ground, the center of Mother Earth, connecting you to the center, the crystalline core of Mother Earth now. Just seeing that red laser beam connecting you now. And as your team is coming in, welcome, 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 welcome. And as your red laser beam connects to Mother Earth, she sends a pulse of energy up through that red laser beam. Up and up, up, up through your body, and up through the top of your head. And meanwhile, you send a golden laser beam from the very crown of your head, the very top of your head. You beam that up and up and up, up and up and up, connecting you to the cosmos, connecting you to the galactic sun. And once you see that plug in there, you receive a pulse back from the cosmos of light codes, of activations, of healing, of high frequencies now. Good, good, good. And that red laser beam and that gold laser beam, the energy that's pulsing up from Earth and the energy that's pulsing down from the cosmos meets in your heart. And it activates the landscapes of your heart, the mountains and the oceans, and the Milky Way and the cosmos of your heart. Good. And you just feel your heart opening to this experience, opening to this activation. Beautiful. And let's just call back all of our energy and all of our power back to us across all time, space dimensions. Just calling our energy back from, maybe you had a morning where you were really scattered and hustling and bustling, maybe you fell behind, just calling your energy back from that morning, calling your energy back from last night, calling your energy back from your day, just seeing those threads of light magnetizing back to you now, filling your heart center now, filling that central column of light, that channel in your spine now. Good. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Beautiful. Just breathing into this now moment, feeling fully grounded and present. And now we get to see a golden energy extending out from your heart, connecting with the hearts of every single person on this live training and hearing, listening the replay, connecting all of our hearts in a golden circle. Beautiful. Beautiful. As we set this intention, this portal of energy, to have an open heart, to have an open mind, to receive this transmission, and to activate our belief in ourselves and our sovereign power as the creators that we are, as the divine presence that I am, and so it is. And so it is, and so it is. Beautiful. And we ask our higher self to furthermore give us any activations and any healings to our energy field that is required in our now time and space. Just in this hour, about an hour that we're going to spend here together, just asking that our higher self and our teams, our angels, our guides continue to work on our energy field. In this time that we are in this portal of energy, in this cauldron, activating us, giving us any healings that our energy field needs right now. Thank you, and so it is. Beautiful. So you can open your eyes, bring yourself to this moment. We've had a few more people hop on, so if you want to just drop a comment of who you are, where you're from, where you're coming in from, what you hope to learn from this activation, you can do so now. And any point throughout this transmission, oh, I see my back. Hopefully that's not an issue. All right, there's just a lot of high frequencies going on, so I just request that my Wi-Fi expand its bandwidth so that it can hold the capacity of this frequency of these transmissions that are going through now. Thank you, and so it is, and so it is, and so it is. Beautiful. So as I'm delivering this transmission, if there's anything that really resonates with you that you think a friend needs to hear, just tag your friend in it, share it on your page, and then feel free to just drop any questions and just like drop any comments or just anything that's coming up for you as I give this transmission. So I'm going to just dive in now and let's start. I'm going to share my story as to kind of what brought me to this point of being able to, hello Jennifer from Michigan, hello. So I'm just going to dive in. So I'm going to preface this by saying I love my family. I was raised in I was raised in a good family. I was raised on a farm where we lived off of the land. But I was also raised in a family. My soul chose to be with a family that was very different than me. And I was born into a family that are very, very programmed into fear of victimhood, of poverty, of scarcity, and of separation. And I never really felt like I quite fit in with my family. And so when I was 16, lovely age, I rebelled. I rebelled hard from the very, very sheltered life that I was raised in. I met an older man that was from the wrong side of the tracks, and I got caught up with him, and I moved out when I was 16. I spent 3 years living in pretty well a drug house, experiencing abuse, being really hard into drugs, just experimenting. And I saw a lot of things that grew me up very, very fast at a very young age. And and this basically was kind of the start of my awakening, really. I mean, it was basically my break free from some of the conditioning that I experienced with the family that I was raised in. But when I was 19, I ended up moving back in with my parents, and it wasn't that long after that I ended up meeting another guy, and I spent 4 years kind of living the life that's inside the box, doing exactly what society was telling me I should do. And a lot of that was because of guilt for moving out on my parents when I was 16. And so, I was working at a bank, I got a mortgage, I, was just living a very, very chilled lifestyle. And at that time I didn't know it because I was pretty unaware still, but the man that I was with had a lot of narcissistic traits, and he was oil field. So I went from living in a time where I was surviving off of mustard and pickle sandwiches because I didn't know where my next meal was going to come from, of course, when I'm 16, living out on my own, to all of a sudden being in the oil field lifestyle where my partner was making a lot of money, and just really kind of got caught up into that in the material lifestyle. But I did start to question, I just felt unhappy. I want to backtrack a little bit. I very much was playing into the victim, damsel in distress programming still at that point. I was this woman that just came out of an abusive relationship, and very damsel in distress-esque. And this man in white shining armor whisked me up and rescued my dog from my ex, and gave me a beautiful home, etc. Right? So I was really still playing into that programming that I had learned from my family, I had learned from the culture that I was born into. And I started to break free a little bit, started to rebel again, and began in a side business from working in the bank. I launched a health and fitness coaching business and wanted to be an entrepreneur, and just wanted to break free from the 9 to 5. In that time is when my awakening really, really, really activated, and it got to a point where I could no longer physically be in the same room as my now ex because our energies were so different, and it was painful for me to be around him. And so I broke free of that lifestyle, the oil field lifestyle of having a mortgage at a very young age, and I just kind of left it all and I started traveling. And I traveled. I went to Nashville, Vegas, Mexico, Dominican, Cuba, and hopefully this. I apologize, my internet is not the greatest here. So I ended up just traveling, which really, really opened me up and really activated my awakening and accelerated. And in that time, I was preparing to shift out of fitness coaching into life coaching. And just as I put it out into the universe, make me the best life coach ever, I ended up experiencing a trauma in the Dominican, which I'm not going to get into the story because that's just not the focus of this, which really accelerated me in learning about the divine feminine, really activated me and initiated me into the divine feminine arts and working with goddess energy. And it was the beginning of me dismantling the victim consciousness template that was operating. Now, in the time of me traveling, I ended up meeting my soulmate in Cuba. He's an Irishman. And fast forward 2 years later, maybe 3 years later now, I now live in Salzburg, Austria, with my Irishman, who I'm married to now. I brought my dog over from Canada with me. I've been living here for almost 2 years, and I am coaching women on energetic mastery. I'm helping them develop the inner energetics of self-belief, of power, of magnetism, of coming into union with both the divine, masculine, and feminine aspects of themselves so that they can powerfully bring their gifts, their magic into the world. So the life that I am living today at 27 years old is very, very, very different than the life that I was living at 17. I have created a very, very different reality for myself. And what really ended up accelerating my growth, my manifestation, my shifts in the external reality was remembering that divine God spark within me. Remembering my sovereign power. And if I say God and you get a crunchy energy from it, use source, use divine, use goddess, whatever resonates with you, okay? So, what is sovereign power? I'm going to read you a definition. So a lot of people don't actually know what it is. Sovereign power. It is the full right and power of a governing body over itself without any interference from outside sources or bodies. I'm going to say it again. It is the full right and power of a governing body over itself without any interference from outside sources or bodies. So you can see how this is the complete opposite of victim, damsel in distress consciousness, right? Because the victim, damsel in distress consciousness is, I'm a victim to the external reality. Whatever's going on out there makes me feel small, makes me feel weak, makes me feel powerless, makes me feel manipulated and controlled. Right? So here's the thing, is we have been born into an inverted matrix. So I'm going to get into more what this means later in this live training, where the systems that we have been born into, the systems that have been built on corruption and greed, built by dark forces, have not been built in favor of our sovereign power. In fact, they have been built to keep us in a fog, to keep us in fear, to keep us from remembering our sovereign power. Okay? So we are born into grids of poverty, of scarcity, of enslavement and separation. And all of these templates that we are born into that have been created by this system that has been built for elitists, that have been built to keep powerful, and to keep other people feeling powerless, right? To keep us out in separation from our divine goddess self, okay? So when we look at the poverty starvation grid that we are born into, to kind of put it into perspective for you, the amount of money that is spent on one Super Bowl, I'm talking about the salaries for the players, advertising, the money that is spent on Super Bowl parties, the money that is spent on like the subscriptions that you can watch it on TV, just advertising, all of it. The tickets so that you can go to the Super Bowl. The money that is spent on the Super Bowl every single year is enough to eradicate world poverty for 1 year. Okay? So that really just puts things into perspective of how kind of like jaded the system is. Okay? So when you look at how the poverty and starvation grids are also staying alive, is the cost of living that most countries have is higher than what people mostly make. So fortunately, my life in Austria now is a lot easier than life in Canada. But you know, when I was in Canada, there were a lot of times that I had to put my groceries on my credit card because the amount of money that I was making wasn't enough to cover all of my bills, especially if there was like an influx of a certain, you know, charge or something that I needed to take care of, like maybe my dog had to go to the vet or something. My budget just didn't have room for that, right? So think about also America. America is, the healthcare system is completely set up and corrupt in the sense that if you don't have health insurance, which is very expensive, and you get sick, you can end up bankrupting yourself, right? So this is a daily fear that people that live in the States live with, of the fear of getting sick, the fear of getting injured in case they can't afford it, right? Just give me uno momento. Just checking the comments here. Okay, so these consciousness grids that we are basically born into are not set up for us to break free of them, right? They're set up to keep us programmed, to keep us in fear, to keep us in contraction, to keep us feeling controlled. So when you look at the scarcity consciousness, right? So there is never enough. We're always trying to, there's never enough food. We're always trying to get the next thing. Even when we have the thing, it's still not enough, right? Sorry, give me one moment. Right, whatever. Okay, so then, and this is taught to us from a very, very early age. Right, so I was at Christmas time. My husband, he's Irish, and I don't know if this is like an '80s kid thing or an Irish thing, but on Christmas he needs to watch Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And this is not like the newer one. This is like the old school one. And whatever, I ended up watching it with him. But I remember as a child being quite traumatized by Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And I know now why. So when they're going into the tunnel and there's the Oompa Loompas and there's the hypnotic colors going around the screen and it's all very scary and forced and whatnot, there's actually a ridiculous amount of fear programming in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory that our children are watching and their little spongy brains are being programmed for. There's never enough golden tickets. There's never enough chocolate, right? And so it seems all fine and innocent, but this is just how the media has programmed us to see the scarcity rather than see the abundance. We have to actually work so hard to view the abundance in our lives, especially when we start doing our gratitude practices and stuff. We have to work really, really hard to deprogram, Jen, yes, to deprogram that scarcity, right? Because we just continue to look at, oh, there's still not enough, it's still not enough, still not enough. We have to work really, really hard to recognize how abundant we are with the leaves, with the branches, with this office, with the roof over our head, with the food in our fridge, with the beautiful water coming from the tap, and so forth. We have so much. If you are watching this, you're one of those people. We have so much. We have a phone to do this recording. We have a laptop. We have Wi-Fi. Life is pretty good. We're doing great. And yet we've been so programmed to thinking that it's not enough, right? So let's move into enslavement. So this is the slavery consciousness grid. This is still very, very alive. This is the overworking ourselves 40 plus hours a week just to get by, right? Going to work when we are sick or exhausted and don't feel good for the fear that we're going to lose our job. That is slavery. That is enslavement, okay? Or if you are an entrepreneur, you're just kind of stepping out into the entrepreneur world, it's so easy to get caught up in the hustle, grind till burnout mode, because that's what has been so deeply programmed in. We are slaves. We are slaves to our emails. We are slaves to our schedules. We are slaves to everything outside of ourselves rather than honoring ourselves, right? So many people are working jobs where they are just a number. They are just a number. That they don't feel valued. They're afraid to call in sick. They're afraid to stand up for what they believe in. How many people are doing a job where there's things that they have to do in their day-to-day that don't align with their values, with their core values, that are against their ethics? You know, when I worked at a bank, I had to do things that were against my ethics, that I didn't feel okay with it. And who was I to stand up and say, no, this isn't right. This isn't right that we're asking a 21-year-old we start pitching a 21-year-old to have a mortgage. I am one of those 23-year-olds that got a mortgage when I shouldn't have gotten a mortgage. I shouldn't be making life decisions like that locked me in for 35 years at age 23. No! Right? So then we look at the separation consciousness grids that we are born into. False idols, celebrities. This is Hollywood, right? Like, right from a very young age, we are taught to put people up on pedestals. Well, when we put people up on pedestals, They're looking down on us. We're feeling inferior to them, right? So that there's that superiority complex that we feel inferior to them. So there's the inferiority complex. But if we're feeling inferior to them, you better damn well believe that we're feeling superior to someone else. So we're like ranking ourselves. We're ranking ourselves based on our class, on how much money we make, our income, where we were born, the color of our skin, etc. All of these race wars, gender wars, class wars, like that's not our natural true way of being. We're all the same. We all bleed the same. We all have the same color hearts. We all have the same tissue in our hearts. We all are made up of the same like makeup, the same cells, the same tissues, right? So that was taught to us to keep us in separation. Not to mention, okay, so let's like get into Kobe, right? Kobe died, tragedy, awful, but there was 8 or 9 other people in that helicopter that we don't hear about. If Kobe was someone that worked at a grocery store in LA, it would be an accident that was printed in the LA Times articles on like one of the back pages, and it wouldn't have been mentioned again. So we're putting Kobe up on a pedestal because he's all being up on TV, etc., making him worth more than everybody else, right? So we are so deeply programmed to not see our own worth, right? Think about, as women, what we are bombarded with right at the beginning of our lives with the media, all like how our bodies are supposed to look, how our skin's supposed to look, what beauty really means. And so then we end up spending money on makeup and plastic surgeries, etc., to make us try to feel better about ourselves, to meet this false idea of what we should look like. Okay, and so that's all kind of tying into this separation consciousness of this person is better than me, I am better than this person, I don't feel worthy within myself, right? Let's talk about coronavirus quarantine going on right now. A lot of you are in Canada and the States. I'm kind of in the I'm in Central Europe, and there's a lot of crazy stuff happening over here right now. We have a few cases of coronavirus in Salzburg, and if you get on a train where someone has a fever, someone's got flu-like symptoms, that train is going to get shut down and quarantined, and your travel plans are going to get totally screwed. Even if that person doesn't have coronavirus, they just have the flu. Same with if you get on a plane and someone's showing flu-like symptoms, that plane could get quarantined, and then that next plane that you're supposed to catch, or the train that you're supposed to catch, too bad, you're stuck on the tarmac for hours and hours and hours. Down the street from me, there was a hotel where a man who had come from Frankfurt for a football game, he apparently had coronavirus. He didn't know at the time. And, he didn't know all of the places that he went to, but the hotel where he stayed at, there are 14 staff members right now that are quarantined for 14 days at home because they worked at the establishment that this man stayed at. I can guarantee you those 14 people that worked at the hotel don't have the money to afford that, right? And so there's also, what we're seeing is like, say someone from Asia walks by with a mask, people are spreading. So there's racism stuff that's popping up as well. Everyone, like, anybody that's gets sick, everyone's like, oh, this is a way to keep us in separation, the whole coronavirus shenanigans. And y'all know how I feel about that. It's all fear programming, and to keep us in separation. When we're in fear, our immune system drops, making us more susceptible. All right? So if you're vibing out with what I'm saying here, just share, take a friend, write any questions, any thoughts that you have in the comment box. All right? So here's the thing. We're in the womb. I'm hoping this connection isn't too choppy for you guys. When we are in the womb, we are like fully connected to that divine spark, that fully in love. We don't know what fear is. We're just in this beautiful cosmic mystery. Everything's just dark and lucid, and it's like a psychedelic trip. It's awesome, right? We are pure source consciousness. We are infinite abundance, infinite love. Everything's great, floating around in womb land. And then we are born And we experience our first trauma within seconds when that umbilical cord is cut, and our little lungs have to gasp for air if we want to survive way before they're prepared. It's just this instant shock, right? And we are born into a world of extreme density and fear and trauma, and we're like, what the WTF is this? Get me out of here. Put me back in. Like, I don't want any part of this. No, put me back in, right? And then we begin to learn, even though we come out as the purest love, pure source consciousness, yes, we come out that way. But we are born into inverted matrix, into these fear consciousness grids. And we begin to learn these programs. We begin to learn that we're not enough. We begin to learn that about scarcity and poverty and enslavement. And we just begin to learn all these really crunchy energies that are these false programmings. But the truth is, which is what these false programs don't want us to remember, don't want us to know, is that the true natural order of things, the way that it actually is supposed to be, the way that the earth was when the earth was created. The natural order of things is infinite love, ever-expanding love, joy, abundance, oneness, community, equality, peace, joy, wealth, prosperity, connected to source. That is the true natural law and order of things. And that's always available to us. It's always within us here. There's a golden grid around Earth, pulsing through Earth, pulsing through us. That is that infinite prosperity. That is that infinite love. It's that inverted matrix of the fear programmings. Okay? And so, hey Jen, do you mind just commenting below about how if the connection is quite choppy, please? Or if it's okay, if you're getting what I'm laying down. I've been in a battle with my internet provider for months now. I even got the advanced modem, and it still is not the greatest. And basically, when everyone gets off work at 3 or 4 o'clock, the networks jam up, and then our bandwidth goes down. Okay, so here's the thing. The Western world, right, we are so deeply disconnected from spirituality. Mostly okay on my end. Okay, thank you. I'm wondering, you know what, I think I'm just going to close out my laptop so that it's not sucking up juice, and hopefully that'll be good. Thank you, Jen. Okay, so the Western world is very, very disconnected from source, from spirituality. Whereas the indigenous people, they have that strong sense of spirit. They have that, they honor the sacredness of land, they honor earth, they understand the laws of the cosmos, right? Whereas the Western world, we are craving that connection outside of ourselves. And so that's where addictions come up. That's where we are numbing ourselves, where we are turning to alcohol, weed, drugs, excessive TV, video games, Netflix, binging, codependent relationships, cigarettes, using food as a way to fill it, numb ourselves out, to keep us from paying attention to the reality of the situation, right? And so, because we are so disconnected from source, even though, I'm just going to say, we're not actually disconnected from source. Source never went anywhere. It's always within us. It's just what the fog, what the fear has kept us from believing. Okay, so here's the thing. We all have God's spark within us. We all have the divine spark within us. And if you don't like the word God, like I said earlier, just use divine, use source, use goddess, whatever resonates with you, okay? So that spark within us is the same spark that pulses, that intelligence that pulses through the rivers, through the mountains, through the oceans, through the plants, through the trees. That same spark that was that cosmic boom that created Earth, that created life, that created this light grid. We all have that within us. I'm going to repeat it because it said that my connection available. Okay. We all have that God spark within us. It's not a fragment, it's not a copy, it is the God spark, the divine spark. Okay, so just like if you look at an ocean drop, a drop of water from the ocean, when you look at all the molecules, the elements, everything, the atoms, everything that composes of this ocean drop, it has the exact same elements, the exact same molecules as the ocean. Does that make it any less of the ocean just because it's a drop, just because it's smaller? No. So just like the drop of the ocean is the ocean, as we are with God, as we are that God spark, the divine. Okay? So let's just put our hands in our heart and close our eyes and just tune into that intelligence that pulses through every single cell of ours. That divine spark, that light of life that is within us. Because Source is us and we are Source. God is I am God. Okay, and so we remember the divine spark within us now. We remember that God spark within our hearts. And so it's with this knowledge, with that remembering of that spark within us, that we are merely just reflections. We are merely reflections of the divine, of Source, of God consciousness. That we can become really, really powerful creators. We can stand in our sovereignty and say no more to all that energetic muck that's going on around us. No more. Whatever's going on out there, that's just an illusion. I'm staying grounded within what's going on in here. Okay, because we live in a reflected universe, in a hologram. So everything around us is light, it's energy, it's space. When you actually gather up all of the actual physical matter, if you actually gather all that up all across the world, it would only be a tablespoon. Which means everything else is energy, it's light, there's space. Okay, so our eyes reflect our belief systems. It picks up the reflected light that mirrors the belief systems that we hold within us. So that's why two people can experience the exact same day and have two totally different recollections of what happened. Because their eyes are picking up two totally different things based on this person's belief systems, based on this person's experiences that cultivated their belief systems. So why we are seeing in our reflected reality in this hologram of a universe, why we are seeing these distorted consciousness grids of poverty, scarcity, enslavement, and separation is because we have been deeply programmed by the media, as you know, by fear. Okay, and so then you can recognize that you have the power to believe something different, because all of these inverted matrices, that's false programming. If you catch me pausing, it's just to connect. I think I'm back now. Yeah, I'm back. Okay, there's a lot of frequencies coming through. So you can recognize that you have the power to believe something different and choose something different by dismantling these false programming consciousness grids that are playing out in your reflective hologram. By alleviating yourself to that golden grid that is available to every single human being on this planet. That golden grid of the truth, of infinite love, abundance, joy, peace, harmony, wealth, prosperity, living in harmony with Earth. Okay? We are all just creators of our own video game. That's all this is. We're running through our own video game. Dun, 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 dun. Hitting new levels. As we expand our consciousness, we hit new levels, new lessons, right? Receive codes, activate, up level, right? And we are the creator of our video game. It is your divine birthright to create what it is that you desire in your reality. Okay? So we can dismantle these consciousness grids by recognizing that this fear that you've been programmed into, it's not yours. It never was yours. You weren't born with it. You learned it. And it's not yours to be carried now. It's done. You're letting it go. And with the power of your word, and believing in the power of your word, because each word has a vibration and begins to transmute and shift energy, right? You can dismantle, bless, and release, and then choose something different. And then anchor it into the physical plane by taking an action to anchor in the new belief system. Okay, so this is an invitation for you to become very, very aware and conscious of what consciousness grids are and false programmings that are playing out in your reality. And then when you recognize it, saying a clearing statement and then anchoring it into the physical reality by taking an action. Okay, so let's use scarcity, right? I'm sure we all can resonate with that one, that scarcity consciousness grid is playing out, right? So you might want to write this down. I'm going to speak out a statement to dismantle the scarcity consciousness grid. By the power of the source presence I am, I clear, cancel, delete. I clear, cancel, delete, dismantling and deactivating this scarcity consciousness grid now across all time, space, dimensions, ancestry, backsport generations. The wealth and divine prosperity codes are activated within me now. May it be so for all beings. It is done, it is done, it is done. Okay, and believe it is so. Believe it is so. And then you can anchor that new belief system into the physical reality by taking an action step. So if we're reprogramming scarcity, it's giving €5 to the homeless person down the street. It's buying the person behind you's coffee in the drive-through lane. It's deciding to invest in your healing, in your ascension, or deciding to buy organic rather than non. Trusting that you are connected to infinite supply. So money is just energy, right? And so money actually likes to flow. Money likes to actually expand because that is the natural order of energy, to flow and to expand. So if you're holding on to money, one of the best ways to break through of it is let some of it go. Let it flow. Because more will come in. There's always more where that came from. And so then continue, like when you've said this clearing statement and you felt that activation, continue to tune your energy into that throughout the day. If you feel your energy slipping back into scarcity, take a few deep breaths, reconnect with your heart, reconnect with what's true, reconnect with that abundance, that golden grid. Okay, so the more that you start to see evidence, because here's the thing, our brains are actually trained and tuned in to see what's the same. But if you make a decision that, no, I'm going to start to look at what's different. What's different in my reality after saying that statement and after anchoring it into the physical? And just begin to notice, okay, wow, I'm really noticing of how beautiful those flowers are over there and how there's abundance of leaves on the trees and oh, wow, look at all of this here. And you just start to fine-tune your awareness to what's different, what you're noticing differently. Because your eyes are reflecting out something different. So the more that you start to see evidence, the deeper that belief becomes. Okay? So it helps to make an evidence list supporting, showing that this is shifting in your reality. And even if you don't believe the power of your word yet, you don't believe in the power of your word yet, even if you just say it, it still makes a ripple because words hold a vibration. But when you believe it, that's when it's like an earthquake. That's where quantum leaps happen, when you believe in the power of your word. So just keep saying it until you believe it. Okay? I'm going to give you an example. Think about if you ever were in school or at a job that you really didn't like. Low network connection. Connection available. I think I'm probably back now. Okay, so faking sick. You want to get out of your job, you're not liking the day, you just want to get out, right? So you start to fake sick. And you know you're not sick, right? But you've changed your physiology, you're just not feeling good, I'm just so sick, need to go home, need to get better. By the end of the day, has it ever happened to you where you were actually sick? Right? You didn't believe it when you first started with your whole sick fakeness. But by the end of the day, as you've become a master of tricking everybody into thinking that you're sick, you actually are sick. And that's because you've created that. Your word created that. Your physiology created that. Right? So comment if this has ever happened to you, if you've ever faked sick and then by like the end of the day you're actually sick. It's really funny when it happens. Let's get into coronavirus. Just for a quick second. It's just funny to watch Muggleland freak out. Jen, definitely. Yes, it's so funny. Alright, so someone comes to you freaking out about coronavirus. My husband is one of them. My husband has a sore throat, and I've been talking him off the ledge of coronavirus. Anyways, so someone comes to you freaking out about coronavirus. Just say, I'm not worried. I'm not worried. And if you notice your little humanness starting to be like, oh shit, like maybe I should be worried. Which, it's happened to me. There's a Frankfurt fan that easily could have stumbled into my husband's pub. The Frankfurt fan that was sick last week. Now my husband has a sore throat. It's possible, but it's not possible. You know what I mean? Like my human mind started to create that. And then I'm like, no, it's not a possibility in my reality. Right? So I deactivate this fear now. By the source presence I am, this is not welcome in my reality. I do not agree to this reality. I am fully in my sovereign power. I am not available for sickness. I am unavailable for sickness, and so it is, and so it is, and so it is. Okay? All right. This is your sovereign birthright, your sovereign power. What do you subscribe to in your reality? All right? So let's talk about the flow of creation, because this is how we become very, very powerful creators and manifestors, is when we really understand the flow of creation. So it starts with the God spark, the divinity within you, within your heart. Whether you're aware of it or not, it's in there. It's in every cell of your being. That intelligence that created all is pulsing through you. You are it. You are a reflection of it. So that God spark is like the initial spark. Okay? And then it filters through your belief systems that you're holding within your energy field. And so these belief systems are the collective fears and implants, that inverted matrices of this distorted consciousness grids that I've been talking this entire time about. It's your ancestral fear programming, your ancestral programming, like maybe your ancestors were always fleeing. Maybe you had past lives as a witch where you were persecuted, where you were burned, as well as cultural conditioning. Cultural conditioning of Canada, America, and Austria, where I live, is all very different. Right? We all have set different cultural conditionings, as well as your chosen belief systems of the belief systems you have consciously implanted from the reprogramming work that you've already been doing. Which, if you're watching this, you've already been in it for a hot minute, right? So that God spark, the divinity within you, kind of shoots it out there, the pulse of creation, then it filters through your belief systems. And what fuels the creation is emotion. Whether it be fear, whether it be excitement, joy, pleasure, anxiety, whatever, worry, right? And so that's kind of like the accelerator, the fuel behind this. And then number 4, it begins to create timelines, right? Like tendrils, spider webs of timelines going out and out and out, right? So you have a timeline where you aren't on this call, where you decided you were going to sleep in instead, or you decided you're going to go get a coffee at Starbucks instead, and where you're not on that call. But there's you here on this call. But there's another timeline where you're not, right? There's a timeline out there where you lived a full life, having babies, gotten married to your first boyfriend. She's out there. She did it. She's there. There's a timeline where you're freaking loaded. Like there's money coming out of your ears. You don't even know how much, you have so much money you don't know what to do with. There's a timeline out there where for that time that you worried that you weren't going to be able to pay your rent, you thought you might end up homeless, there's a timeline where you're homeless, right? So all these times that we have like that thought, that worry, whatever, it creates a split and that timeline gets created. And right? So we have all these tendrils of timelines where our energy is just all out there. So So the more energy and emotion that you put into a timeline, that you put into a possibility, the more real it becomes, to the point that your eyes, because we're in a reflected hologram, reflect that out into your universe, right? So this is where all this fear programming, the more real that you make coronavirus as a possibility in your reality, the more real and likely it is for you to get sick. Your immune system's dropped because you're playing into the fear. You're calling it in. That worry is calling it in. That it's more likely for it to happen to you, right? Just like the more energy that you put into a desired reality of, creating the most magnificent business of your dreams, soul-centered work where you're serving humans, and, in the morning times, you get to do yoga and meditate and walk your dog for as long as you want. Afternoons, you're serving clients. Evenings, you're doing naked candlelight, sensual yin yoga, and dancing under the moon. My life is awesome, right? The more energy you put into creating that timeline, the more expanded that timeline is, the more fueled it is with your excitement, your emotion, the amount of time that you've been fertilizing it, growing it, and the more real it becomes in your reality. Your eyes begin to reflect it, right? So understanding this flow of creation, number one, God spark, filtering through your belief systems, fueling it with your emotion, creating timelines, and then the timelines that you put the most emotion, most energy into, expanding into your reality. So the more you understand this, the more powerful that we become as creators of our reality. Okay, so this is where we can really take advantage of our multidimensionality by accessing timelines where your desire, it's already locked and loaded, it's already sorted, it's already done, it's already created. And you can draw upon the energy of that timeline for your own physical body to begin to make the energetic alchemy, the transmutation, the clearing of the limiting beliefs to become an energetic match for them. And you can draw upon the version of you that's already created it to ask her for, what is the next step? What do I do now? How can I shift this? That is the beauty of being a multidimensional being, is that there's all these bandwidths of frequencies, which are different dimensions that we're all the time part of. It's happening right now. There's a version of you in 12D, there's a version of you in 3D, there's a version of you in 5D. It's all happening simultaneously, and we can call upon those versions of us to activate us in the now moment. So I want to remind you that timeline jumping is very real, especially if we let go of the logical of how is this possible. And what I mean by that is, for example, when I was really, really working on my wealth consciousness, rewiring that poverty, the scarcity, I would do a reprogramming for activating the wealth codes within me. And I would check my bank account balance, and it would be reflecting more money than what I knew was in there the day before. And when I went through my transactions, I'm like, shit, it was always here. It was always here. It also would happen with money in my wallet. It was literally money was rubbing together and making new money in my wallet. And yet I knew the day before that money wasn't there. And yet it was always there. It's because I was jumped into a new timeline where my eyes were reflecting a new level of belief around my wealth consciousness. Okay? So let's give you an example about your sacred work, because a lot of the women I talk to, a lot of the women that are going to be here watching this transmission, you are starting to feel that call. That, okay, yeah, I think I have gifts. I think I have, intuitive abilities. I think I'd like to maybe bring this out into the world, and maybe want to start charging for my services. You're kind of in that place. You're just, dabbling. You're just putting your feelers out, really, right? So there's already a version timeline out there, a version of you that's already created it. It's already done. And why do I say that? Because you wouldn't be having that inkling, that feeling that this is what you should be doing, that idea, if it hadn't already happened. That version of you that's already created it is being like, hey, come with me. I'll show you the way. Let's just put that little seed, that thought that maybe this is what I should be doing. Maybe this is what I'm kind of feeling called. Planting that little seed into your consciousness and seeing it grow. You are being guided. Do not underestimate the power of your thoughts. The thoughts that come up, that's already a manifestation. Why did you have that thought? Okay? So you can, tuning into this timeline where you've already done it, where it's already created, where it's already locked and loaded, sorted, done. You can expand and feel that timeline so much so that your energy becomes a match for it, so that that timeline slides into your reality, and so it is. So your eyes start to reflect it. So how do we do this? We want to expand and feel that timeline, and you do that in deep states of meditation. Or, maybe you can get into trance-like states when you're painting or you're dancing. But what you're wanting to do, so to get into a deep state of meditation always helps to ground to earth, connect yourself to the cosmos, call in your higher self, fill yourself up with light, connecting to your heart, just focusing on your breath, swiping away the thoughts as they come. Maybe it helps to focus on a mantra or your breath, Sat Nam, Soham, until your thoughts completely quiet and you start to feel kind of like a buzzy energy in your body. You start to feel like you're floating, right? And so at that point, your brainwaves have shifted into alpha or theta state, where you can access the 0-point field, the quantum fabric, and you can begin to create. Because that is actually the first step, is whatever you're creating in here, in your belief systems, in your subconscious, the external reality is the last thing to upgrade. That's the last thing to upload. That's like the last piece of the puzzle. So the more energy and time that you spend fueling this vision of what it is that you're doing, how does it feel? Yes, so excited. What does it look like? And then you can actually see that timeline. You're on this timeline and you're creating another one. Just see it slide in and connecting to the tracks of the timeline that you're in now. And you can continue to draw your energy draw upon the energy of that timeline, so that you've set the trajectory, the focus of this is what I'm creating. I am in alignment with this. And your energy is going to start to shift to become an energetic match for that, to create that. Okay? So we need to believe in our power of our creative abilities, which is our sovereign power, because that is quantum law. Whatever you create in here, the more energy, the more fertilizer, the more emotion that you feel it with, has no choice but to become yours. It has no choice. And your energy will go through the alchemy. It will go through clearing out those limiting beliefs. You will be guided to people, tools, resources, courses, books, a message on a sign. You will be guided to bring that into your reality. It's already coming. It's already here. It's already locked and loaded. Okay? So that is alignment. When you are in that energetic muck of clearing out the limiting beliefs, that is part of your alignment. So don't allow the times that you're feeling scattered with the ebbs and the flows and the stumbles and the stand-ups. Don't feel like you're out of alignment. That's part of your alignment. You're becoming an energetic match for that timeline that you've been creating, the timeline that's already existed. You're becoming an energetic match to be vibrating so that your eyes reflect that into your reality. Okay, so that is part of your becoming. That is part of your rising. And it's about enjoying the journey through that. Because you're going to be sent a series of initiations and lessons for you to upgrade to become that. It's all part of it. You have set the focus. You've set the focus. You've set the trajectory. You're now you're kind of over here. This is where I'm going. You will be guided. You already are being guided. That's why you're on this, receiving this transmission. So say it with me. Say it with me. I am in flow, and I am in alignment with the highest trajectory of my life. In the name of the source presence I am, I dissolve all lower timelines now, across all time-space dimensions, ancestry, back 4 generations. It is done, it is done, it is done. Say this a few times throughout your day to recalibrate. Recalibrate, right, this is where I'm going. Allow your vision to lead you. It is magnetizing you forward. And enjoy the journey and the process along the way. Whew. Channeling. It's hot, it's hot, it's hot. Okay. It is your sovereign power your divine birthright, to banish and dismantle all fear programming, collapsing the slavery, collapsing the poverty, collapsing the scarcity and separation consciousness grids. Because this is all false programming. That is not the true law, the true natural order of things. It is not your truth. And it was never yours to carry. And it was just implanted in to keep you separate from that divine spark within you. To keep you in the fear cloud, the fog. But you're breaking through that. It's done. It's done. It's gone. It's dismantled. And it is your right and the natural order of things to lock and load yourself in your sobering power. In the divine template of love, abundance, joy, peace, harmony, prosperity, oneness, community, and quantum expansion. That is your right. That is your sovereign birthright. Just connect with your heart. And remember what's true for you. Don't allow what's going on out here to deter you from that divine spark within. Alleviate your heart to the golden grid. And yes, there will be distractions. Of course there's going to be distractions. It takes practice. But just continue to shift into remembering that golden grid that wraps around Earth, that wraps around the crystal and animal kingdom, around the minerals, the plants, and the oceans, and all of humans, and is pulsing through all of humans, through all of the kingdoms of abundance, of love, of peace. It's here now, it's for us, it's available now. Beautiful. Beautiful. So it is in my divine soul purpose to help women remember just how powerful they are, to unravel and peel back those layers of conditioning, those false programs that have told them that they're not powerful. And so about 5 months ago, in one of my cosmic shamanic journeys, this beautiful energy came and connected with me. She was radiant, she is radiant, and so goddess-like and playful and feminine and joyful and so grounded and activated. And she came to me asking to co-create, wanting to co-create with me, to bring the codes forward into the earth that she carries, to activate women in fully embracing their woo, their magic, to become masters of their energy fields, and to become very grounded in their healing and ascension journey, because it's very easy to get knocked off kilter, to feel lost, to feel a little scattered. And this energy that connected with me, her name is Woo Woman. Woo Woman. And so since she has been channeled into a 6-week digital course that I am here to offer you, a course to teach and activate you in energetic mastery and quantum queendom. And so this course, Woo Woman, is for you, the mystical woman who is craving a new level of expansion, a new level of ascension, who maybe is feeling a bit bored and dried up with her spiritual tools, that is craving a whole new spiritual toolkit, who maybe is feeling a bit ungrounded and scattered in her healing and ascension process, and who's desiring to clear her channel, clearing her energetic channel so that she can hear her guides a lot clearer, and to be in deeper communion with Source, to be in deeper communion with her higher self, to be in a deeper embodiment and activation of her higher self, who is desiring to feel very powerful as a manifester and become an energetic master of her energy field. So this 6-week digital course contains 3 2-week modules of video training, workbooks, and tons of guided meditations to support you, and a lot of really fun tools to support you in your process. So module 1 is laying the foundation of energetic mastery. And so it's about casting circles and creating portals, clearing your energetic channel, devoting to a spiritual practice, deepening your meditations, clearing out the old, making way for the new, and coming into deeper reverence with your temple body by sacred movement, by eating for a light body, by working with food and water, blessing, just really infusing prayer, ritual, ceremony, and tools throughout your entire day so that you're in constant communion with your team, with your energy. Module 2 is all about shadow work. It's about clearing out the old, clearing out that energetic muck, that those limiting beliefs that have been keeping you feeling dull and keeping you feeling all scattered and ungrounded, and continuing to give your power away to those things outside of yourself. So this shadow work module is all about helping you merge with your own woo woman avatar, because that's what we are. We are all woo women. We wouldn't be here otherwise. And module 3 is quantum, and it is awesome. It is all about becoming a powerful manifester. It's all about laying the grid work of your desired reality. And so I'm offering woo women this incredible, fierce, energetic portal. Early bird pricing of €555 paid up front until midnight on full moon, which is Monday. And that €555 includes a bonus free cosmic shamanic journey healing from me and a bonus abundance meditation. Or there's a payment plan which you can do 3 monthly payments of only €222. So the price will go up on Tuesday up to €999, which means you're getting it like 50% off if you get in the doors between now and Monday at midnight. There's going to be a Facebook group to support you in your journey, and we start on March 16th. It's going to be so awesome. I'm so excited to introduce you to Woo Women and to play with you and to expand with you and to share all of these tools and all these practices that have been channeled to me to support you in your healing, ascension, and rising journey. So I'm going to leave the link in the comments for you, and thank you so much for watching. I love you, and have the most incredible, radiant day.